Everyone, and welcome to this Friday's meetup. I'm Dimitra Theophanis, president of the Art Alliance of Contemporary Glass. It is November 4th, and at this time of year, we are normally honoring our awardees at SOFA, which unfortunately was canceled this year, but we are grateful to have a virtual platform so we can still recognize outstanding individuals and organizations in the field of glass art. The AACG's Honors Award recognizes individuals for their outstanding accomplishments in the field of contemporary glass, and the awardee this year is William Traver, founder of the William Traver Gallery in Seattle. We are honoring him for a lifetime of promoting glass art through exhibitions comprising new and established glass arts. He has really been an important and instrumental part of nurturing growth in this field, and Traver Gallery has become an international destination for contemporary art. With that, I would like to turn things over to William Traver. Thank you so much for being with us today. You'll need to unmute your.
Good morning. Can you hear me all right?
We can hear you. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate this wonderful award. It means a lot. It's going to hang in a very special spot. And thank you. So I thought I'd take you on maybe just on a little journey just to show appreciation for all those people along the path that actually has taken me here today, where we stand in the gallery today. So I was born in Missoula, Montana, and that this will be brief, but it'll be fairly concise. So born in Missoula, Montana, moved to Seattle into a little town, Lake City, which was a suburb of Seattle at that time. And it was with a family of 9 children, my mom, my dad. My dad moved to Seattle to start of all things, a glazing company. So he started this little business with his 2 brothers in Lake City. And there were 9 of us living in a little 2-bedroom basement house. And so, but living in the city, I was able to move around the city and get to know a lot of the different merchants in the city. And some of the merchants took me under their wing, one of which was Barbara Kindle, who was the owner of Lake City Fuel. And she took me, to the different concerts and different art events that were occurring downtown Seattle. And our family couldn't afford to do that sort of thing, but that was my introduction to the arts for the very first time. And then from there, I went to managed to make my way through high school and singing in a choir, and also working in a hardware store where I was able to, they recruited me to decorate the store windows, and I would do all the store windows. And then in high school, my high school art teacher took me under his wing and took a real liking to me. I was having difficulty with math and reading, and I'd take home report cards that said Bill needed extra help with his reading and math skills, but I was getting straight A's in art. So my art teacher encouraged me, said, because all my other fellow students were getting ready to go on to college and to universities, but my credentials weren't good enough to go to college. So he said, well, Bill, you should pursue your interest in the arts. And so there was a school in Seattle called Cornish School of Allied Arts. And he encouraged me to go to that, take my portfolio, which I had developed in high school, and apply to this private art school, which, by the way, was unaccredited. It was Nellie Cornish, and she was a big patron of the arts in Seattle and did a lot for the Seattle art scene. But you could get into the school just with your portfolio and didn't have to have the math and science skills to get in. So I was able to get into school was going for a couple years, and then the Vietnam War came along, and I was required to go to into the service. So I joined the Navy and went abroad and had an opportunity, had a very good job with a 3-star admiral on a heavy cruiser. And so I got to go with him to all these different events around the world. And it turned out to be a very good opportunity for me to see the world and what was going on around the world under this the flag of the 7th Fleet. Then afterwards returned to Seattle, and by then I'd gotten my GI Bill and was able to continue my education at Cornish. And while at Cornish, I met this wonderful girl, my wife at that time, Ann Traver, who was 18-year-old, and I was at that time 28. So we got together, and she went on to the University of Washington, where she studied graphic design, and I finished up my course at Cornish in the interior design department. Although, because it was an allied art school, we took all the different art courses, drawing, painting, all these different art courses. So I was able to do that and got to know a number of the teachers at Cornish. And Anne went on to get her graphic design degree in graphic design, which she was one of the first women in the field to get into graphic design at that time. There weren't many women at all in that field. And so then we had to decide what we were going to do as a couple. And we found this little space in Belltown in Seattle. And she opened up her little graphic design company. And I started doing interior design work out of this space. And but a lot of the artists that I got to know at Cornish needed a opportunity to show their work. So in our little space, we hung the artwork of these different instructors at Cornish. And it became obvious at one point that I had to focus on either the graphic design or selling the artwork. And I chose, along with my wife's agreement to do it, although she was very skeptical for me to open a gallery. I opened this gallery in 1977 in Belltown. And because of my relationship with Cornish, there was a woman who was a big patron of Cornish. Her name was Annie Gould Hallberg, and she and John Hallberg were big supporters of the school. And they also had these different soirees at their home on McGill across from the tennis club, where they would invite artists, different people. And one of those artists that she supported a lot was Dale Chihuly. And she had encouraged, Dale had gone to her to talk about opening up this hippie school. It was actually called the Peanut Farm at first. And there was a bunch of hippies up in the woods, and they were gonna work with glass and make glass objects. But they needed a place in Seattle to show what they were doing up there at the school. So Annie Hallberg came to me after I had opened up this little fledgling gallery in Belltown, which was a very depressed area of Seattle, and the rents were very, very cheap. I think our monthly rent was like $50 a month or something. And Anne had her little graphic design company there, and we were starting off. And of course, and along came a little child too, Sarah. And so we would bring Sarah to work with us every day. I had a large armoire in the gallery where I had a drawer that pulled out, and she could sleep in the armoire when Anne and I were working. And started this little gallery, and we would, Annie asked me if I would do the Pilchuck show in our little gallery, because we were the new kids on the block, and none of the other galleries were interested in glass. They no, we're not interested in showing glass from these hippies up in this school called the Peanut Farm, and later it was called the Pilchuck Glass School. So, but we were very interested, and they invited me to come up to Pilchuck and meet the teachers and meet the students who were going through the school and curate a show. And so every year for 20 years, we curated a show called the Pilchuck Glass Show. And it was there that I met all these artists that we went on to represent. One of which was, of course, Lino Tagliapietra. We gave him his first show in our gallery of his goblets that he was making. He was making these very conventional Venetian objects that he was using to teach these American hippies how to actually manipulate the glass and use the glass in a Venetian manner. And of course, that was Dante's teacher too up there at Cornish. And I met Dante. We gave Dante his first show. And his first show was actually a sellout show. Every one of his whoppers sold from that very first show. And that's where I met Bertil Valine, and we started doing these shows for Bertil of his cast glass, and he set up cast glass department there. We went on to meet all these different teachers and would give them their individual shows along with the Pilchuck show each year. So that went on for about 20 years. And Anne Traver was doing all the graphic design work for the gallery, which was fantastic. She did all these incredible posters for Pilchuck every year, did these beautiful posters and beautiful catalogs and all this beautiful work for the gallery, which will help the gallery become successful. People really appreciated these beautiful catalogs. Alongside of the glass, we decided that there were the painters and this artists working in clay, wood, fiber, all these other materials. We decided that we wanted to not ghettoize the glass to just a glass gallery, but to put it alongside all of these other mediums as well, the painters, the sculptors, and we felt like it was important to put the glass right alongside these other mediums as one-person shows. So we were doing all of these shows. We did, this is a pamphlet of 45 years of shows. This is 45 years of exhibitions of different artists working in different materials alongside the glass. So it was, and then we also wanted to make the gallery, think of the gallery as a theater and really do a beautiful job of installing the work, give the individual artists the respect they deserve, to put the work in a context that really showed real appreciation for that. And that's what the Seattle art scene got to see. We did this consistently every year after year. And as we did this, we were able to watch the whole studio glass, the American studio glass artists grow alongside of that. So it was a very, very heartwarming to see this go on. And then at one point, one of our patrons, Melvin Pohl, who was a opera singer and also had inherited a number of buildings in Seattle from his father, who was the big real estate giant in Seattle early on. He inherited this old building in downtown Seattle that was kind of running down, and it was right around in the neighborhood in the Pike Place Market area where all the drug trafficking and everything went on. But he wanted to renovate this building, and he wanted me and our gallery as an anchor tenant in this newly renovated building. And at that time, I was skeptical about moving the gallery from Belltown to downtown Seattle, where it was pretty seedy at the time. And but I went to Jack Benaroya, who was the big patron of our gallery at that time. He was beginning to support the gallery in a big way, along with Becky, his wife. And I went to Jack. He was a very wise real estate man. And I said, Jack, what do you think about moving the gallery down to Belltown into this Harold Pohl building? And he said, Bill, location, location, location. That will be a good location. So we opted to move the gallery down to the heart of Seattle and by the Pike Place Market. And lo and behold, a couple years later, the Benaroya Hall was built, the Symphony Hall. And then a little later, the Seattle Art Museum decided to locate its new building across the street from us in downtown Seattle. And then the Four Seasons decided to build their new hotel in downtown Seattle, and they all circled right around the gallery. And so it turned out to be a great location. And so that was Melvin Poles. And I also have to mention along the way, there was Iris Sutton. At one point, the gallery was starving, and it was right after maybe 5 years of running the gallery in Belltown. We were having a difficult time keeping it going. Anne was starting a graphic design company. I was trying to get the gallery going. We had this new little baby, and we had the sales, the artwork, the glass, the pieces, and all these pieces were selling for $200, $300, maybe $1,000 was an incredible price to put on a piece of glasswork. But Iris Sutton came along. She had moved from New York and wanted to get involved in a gallery. And she had came from a very wealthy family in New York City, and wanted to buy an interest in the gallery. So it was a very opportunity to sell a third of the interest to the gallery to Iris, and she joined the team for about 5 years, and but then had some difficulties in her own life and other things that came up that made her want to buy her interest back out of sell her interest back out of the gallery. So, but she offered it to me for what she paid for it. So I was able to continue the gallery. But it was a big help at the time. Iris Sutton was a huge help to the gallery. And then there was also the time when the Glass Museum was going to open in Tacoma, and they had come to me, or one of the agents of some development property next to the Glass Museum came to us and asked if we were interested in opening a gallery next to the Glass Museum in this old Alber's Mill brick building. And it was a beautiful building. And so we decided we would open a wing, a division of the gallery in Tacoma. And that's what we did. We opened up this beautiful, beautiful space in Tacoma, right across from the Glass Museum. And it's when the Glass Museum had just started. And we had that gallery for running for about 10 years until 2009, with the depression, the recession that occurred at that time, and everything dropped off. Everything came to a dead stop in Tacoma, and it was very difficult to keep that. So we had to focus on the gallery in Seattle. So we reconsolidated the gallery in Seattle. And it was at that time that Sarah she had gone off to college and went off to Teach for America program in New York City, where she was teaching in Harlem, and spent a couple of years there teaching. But she had grown up in the gallery and around with all these artists, and she didn't particularly care for that time in New York City and wanted to return home. So she came back, needed a job, so she went to work for me in Tacoma and became eventually the director there. And then when we closed the gallery in Tacoma, she moved to Seattle and continued her involvement here in the gallery in Seattle. And so now she's been, I'm sort of semi-retired. I still come in every day and generally work from about 10 o'clock until about 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock. And I have a interest in sailing and have a sailboat, and a wonderful companion dog friend of mine, Allie. And we go off and spend the afternoon doing other things, but still make deliveries and visit with the artists and visit with a lot of the old patrons of the gallery. We have many loyal, wonderful patrons who have supported the gallery. And then, of course, we have all of these fantastic artists that we represent. And it's ironic that you should be giving me this award right now, this month, right to this day. This is the day before our current show, which will be ending, which constitutes an exhibition of Dale Chihuly's celebrating 50 years of working with Dale, and that's currently in the gallery. And right alongside of it, on the other side of the gallery, is a beautiful sculpture show of John Kiley's work. And these sculptures are standing in the gallery. I think I should take this camera and just walk outside and just give you a little view of the two shows in the gallery, which are just brings it all together, because Dale, who has done so much for the American studio glass movement and getting people to think about glass art as sculpture, and then right alongside John Kiley's work, which is pure sculpture, standing on these incredible pedestals in the middle of the gallery. So we've come a long ways, a very long ways. It's been a 45-year journey with the gallery, and now my daughter Sarah is taking it on, is going to continue it. So thank you very much. I appreciate this award. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. It's not hard to see that you just have been so incredibly influential and supportive of the arts. And of course, not only in Seattle, but it trickles through everywhere. And really, we are honored to give you this award today, and so appreciative of everything that you have done for contemporary glass and for art as a whole. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Next, we have organization. We give an award each year to both an individual and to an organization to honor their contributions to the contemporary glass movement. And the awardee receives an unrestricted grant of $5,000 from AACG. And this year it's Chicago's Firebird Community Arts that is going to receive the award with special recognition of its Project Fire program. Firebird's mission is to empower and connect people through the healing practice of glassblowing and ceramics. And Project Fire, the organization's signature program, was co-created in 2014 by artist Pearl Dick, who is now Firebird's artistic director. Shortly after Project Fire's launch, it joined forces with Firebird Community Arts. And I would like to present the award today to Dr. Karen Reyes, who is here with Pearl Dick. And Karen is the Executive Director of Firebird Community Arts. So please take it away, Karen.
Hi, everyone, and thank you so much. Really, I am happy to accept in the place of the entire team, which Pearl and I and our colleague Maureen are a force of three that really work together for all of this. So we're super pleased. For those of you who don't know Firebird, we are a 501c3 nonprofit based here in the East Garfield Park neighborhood of Chicago. Our mission is to empower and connect people through the healing practice of glassblowing and ceramics. And we're sitting here today in our studio, which is pretty active and might be loud. We'll see. Hopefully we have a exciting background for some of our discussion today. And we do want to show you some of our work in the form of a slideshow, but also really engage in conversation with folks here. As was mentioned, we sort of joined forces and really refounded the organization starting in 2015 learning so much from Project Fire, which is the program that Pearl co-created. And cleaning the camera.
It's a little foggy.
And so that has really focused our purpose on using glass blowing and ceramics as tools for healing trauma for all of us, but specifically for young people who've been impacted by traumatic gun violence in our Project Fire program, and people who experience systemic violence through prison systems. Sometimes our public institutions like schools, unfortunately, can be very traumatizing. So hopefully we'll be able to show you some of our work and, you know, live up to the honor of this award. Do you want to take it away with the slideshow?
Sure. Thank you, everybody. It's like, you know, such an honor to receive this. And I know so many of you that are on this call who've been supportive of our work for years. So we just really appreciate you. And we're honored to share this award with you for this year too, Bill. I mean, your gallery is just, I mean, it's legendary in our community, and it's like really sets the standard for like what a great glass gallery can be. And you've been at it for a really long time and still going strong. So congratulations and thank you. It was really interesting for me to hear some of your background and your story. And yeah, we're just really honored to be here and accept this with you and have you all here in our studio and get to share this with you and to get to introduce you to our awesome executive director, who I know y'all see me a whole bunch, but you don't get to like see a lot of the other people that make this ship sail. So, you know, we're honored and grateful. So I'm going to share our screen here and we're going to show you some slides and we're going to kind of tag team talking about a couple things for those of you who've not been to our studio, and for folks who, you know, want to see what I know most of you guys are very familiar with glass and the process and, you know, what it looks like. But for some of you who aren't as much or aren't familiar with our work as well, you know, so we'll be able to share some of that with you. This is the front of our space, and that's my little emo nephew walking into the front door. We've painted our entire studio. This, when I was putting together these slides, I just found this, which reminded me that winter's coming, and you know, it's like we're very grateful that we have a hot furnace in here all winter long through Chicago.
This mural was co-designed with our youth participants as well. So a lot of the themes there came from them.
Absolutely. We've painted our entire building. So we're located in East Garfield Park. So just west of the city on Lake Street, for those of you who are familiar with Chicago, the green line goes right over our building, and it's like this little kind of desert of, you know, of arts and culture where we are. So we've painted our building and we've really set up our space to be open and community driven, so folks can come by and check us out. And it's just like a little bastion of art and creativity. I don't know if you want to add anything.
No, that's
okay. Jump in whenever you want.
Yeah.
We actually, this was just a raw warehouse and we built it out to suit, and young people in our program really had a hand in the actual construction. I mean, we built rooms, we ran electrical wiring and built equipment and, you know, plumbed gas lines. Like everybody was really hands-on. So everybody has like a real ownership of the space. That's Nkosi Barber, who was doing some drywalling. That's Nkosi again. This is one of our like first postcards from Project Fire, which, did they describe what Project Fire is?
a little bit. We can
A little bit. So Project Fire, which is the program that Dimitra referred to, is one of our flagship programs here. And we work with young people who've been impacted by gun violence, and we partner with a mental health organization called Healing Hurt People Chicago, which is a hospital-based violence intervention program. So they meet young people in the hospital and offer them some options for follow-up care, of which Project Fire became one. It's an employment opportunity for people so they can get paid to come and to blow glass, to learn how to blow glass with us. But we also do a lot of work with mental health. So we'll do 3 hours in the glass studio and then 1 hour of group sessions that are led by peer facilitators, as well as trauma intervention specialists and caseworkers and clinical social workers. Want to add anything to that?
No, that has become our flagship program and really taught us so much that we, inform our other programming with as well. And so this postcard here was probably around circa 2015-ish. Yeah.
2015. These are some images of some of the folks from that first, second or third cohort of Project Fire. If you can hear background noise, that is the joy coming from Project Fire, which is happening right now in our space, which we'll show you live shortly. I mean, here's some images, when we don't have programming going on, people can see what's happening, but they're in here doing this right now. It's a really dynamic space. We have a lot of people in here all the time. Young people, whether or not they're engaged in like their particular day of programming, like to be here, just to be in community and have the support of their peers and artists that come through the space, and we're just here for support. This in this picture actually, so this like we do a lot of workshops with folks. This is a birthday party, and the person that with the white shirt and like the red and black shirt tied around her waist, that's an emergency room physician at Stroger Hospital, which is one of the level 1 trauma units on the west side of Chicago. And she's creating a glass heart. This is actually for her birthday party. And the guy standing next to her with the white t-shirt, she actually, he was her patient. And he came in with a gunshot wound through the heart, and she like literally like saved his life and got to come in and blow glass and make a glass heart with him, which was pretty amazing. Solo making a little flamework sculpture. So we do a lot of different programming. Oh, this was an old version. Anyway, I had ceramics in there. We have flame working, we have ceramics and glass blowing. This is an image from one of our self groups. Self stands for safety, emotion, loss, and future, which are 4 things that are disrupted when somebody experiences trauma. And so we do 1-hour sessions where we feed people and we talk about some of these things and how they relate also to what we're doing in the glass studio. So there's some really direct correlations between things that we experience firsthand in the glass studio, like safety, for example. We're always working to like make sure people are safe, working with 2000 degrees of molten glass. And then, we can come into this space and talk about safety in other ways and how people's concept of safety is impacted because of their experience. In 2019, in 2019, we started a group of a cohort for young women, so exclusively for young women. Project Fire had mostly been young men up until this point, just because they fit this very specific criteria of having been injured themselves by gun violence and being involved in this program with our partners, Healing Hurt People Chicago. And unfortunately, there were enough young women that fit this criteria now that we could actually form its own group. And these folks are just unreal, inspiring, and come together to support each other in such a really beautiful way.
That first picture was also us making masks because the pandemic, struck us not too long after they had coalesced as a group. So there we were learning how to make masks together back when fabric masks were kind of what was around, and we made very breathable ones for the hot shop. And then in the center is Danny, who was a social work intern with us and now has become our on-staff social worker.
Yes. It's blowing. Learning how to blow glass. They're really crushing it. The guys were a little nervous when they were like, there's going to be girls in here, like, not nervous for the way you would think, but they were like, they're going to show us up. They've really excelled. Yeah, and everybody works really closely together in here too. So even though we have a separate cohort that are for young women, and they meet in their groups with that cohort, and the young men meet in their groups with their own cohorts too. We all really work very closely together in the studio, and everybody's really supportive of each other. There's Deontay and Keontae at one of our sales here at the studio. We have babies in the space.
This baby shower.
Baby shower. It's really a very supportive and family kind of community we have here. This is Deshawn and Marie, this little girl. Sometimes you got to put a baby in a bucket.
Water play.
It was a hot, very hot day, and we're trying to cool down a baby. So it's and sometimes there's just play, like a lot of the things we talk about in here are really, they're heavy, and we're like addressing, trauma in our space. And sometimes people come in like feeling all types of ways, and sometimes it's just about playing and having fun and being around each other and having some joy. And and getting some recognition for the good things that you're doing and what you're accomplishing.
And that's particularly important for us in Chicago when there's so much negative narrative around young people here and young Black and brown teens and violence. And so to sort of put out another narrative about what's happening in Chicago is really important to us, and have it be led by the young people themselves shining.
100%. We do a lot of different workshops in the community. Like we have school groups that come in, and our teaching artists and participants in Project Fire lead those groups. And it's really a wonderful way to not only share the work that we do, but like to get people to engage with each other in a really kind of natural and organic way. So there's a lot of like knowledge and like skill sharing that happens, and it's a really, as most of you know, like the atmosphere in a glass studio, it's very collaborative. So it really allows us a chance to just get to know each other in a real natural and creative way. And a lot of the young people that have been in Project Fire for over 5 years or more have kind of graduated into being teaching artists in our space. And so these are some of those folks leading some of these other groups. Gallerists, like we do like corporate team building, and like galleries this is from the Weinberg Newton Gallery, which we're collaborating with on a show for next year. They came in and did a workshop. We're working on starting a program for younger groups. Like right now it's been mostly teenagers, but we're working to get folks in even younger, because we find that that's often when people first are exposed to violence in their neighborhoods, or come into contact with things that then lead them into being into this getting into some of the situations that lead them into Project Fire. So
Traumatic loss.
Trying to help preempt some of these things, instead of addressing them as they've already happened in people's lives. We do a lot of like production work. These are some of our wine toppers that we make. We've got wholesalers that will purchase things from us, and it's a way that we can employ people also and build skills in glass making. And it's like kind of like the next step that we're trying to set up for employment for when people start to graduate out of the intensive case management spaces that they're in, and are like interested in pursuing glass as a career, and need to make a living doing it, as we all do.
So this was our attempt to figure out placements and reasonable positions to keep people employed who really wanted to stay in the community and stay involved with us. And so we ourselves are expanding the field and creating creative jobs for young people, making awards for local funders and corporations giving awards, as well as wholesale items and items to sell, so that they can continue to do the thing that has been so meaningful for them, but also develop as artists and entrepreneurs and get skills that could be transferable, or they could go forward with in glass as well.
And we've found that this is a really great way to connect with these organizations in our community too. Like we're selective on who we do work with. Like, so we create like awards for people that are involved in neighborhood development, and we get invited to these fancy events, and they talk about our program, and we're in a room full of architects and designers and funders, and they're very interested too in having work that is created within the community by community members. And I mean, these were folks, this was Landmark, Illinois, and it was all women that received these awards that we created. And it's so cool. Like they, handed them out, like, handed our awards out, and they accept them on stage, like taking pictures with the awards. And we got to, we get to meet these really incredible people doing great work in our communities and connect them with the work that we're doing too.
I can introduce this part because
Yeah.
I'm wearing the t-shirt. If you can see that.
Yeah.
So we came into contact with an old friend of mine from grad school who headed up an organization called CRR 19, which is Chicago Race Riot 1919. And it was created in the centennial year, 2019, to try to commemorate the largest incidents of racial violence in the history of Chicago that was also formative to a lot of the racist structures that shaped the city up till today. And he was telling me about this cool project, and I was like, that's so important. I never learned about that in school. We really need to know about it and reckon with it. And he contacted me like a week later and was like, oh, I didn't make the connection, but we're looking for artists to do the public monument, the memorial pieces. And there'll be 38 scattered site pieces that will go throughout the city, modeled after a project that was done in Germany following the Holocaust, called the Stolpersteine, which was loosely translates to stumbling blocks. So they wanted to put glass blocks commemorating the fact that this incident happened and 38 lives were lost in different places that were salient, often the place where someone was recorded to have died, throughout the city. And so he said, oh, I need artists. Can we talk to you? And we were like, which better artists can we think of than young people who are today still impacted by violence? So these are some prototypes. Either way, this is a prototype of a fused glass version where we're playing with how to layer imagery. And so Pearl has been really taking the lead with the artists to study and develop techniques that will best convey the images and the memory of what happened in that sort of week in Chicago in 1919. And this is an event that we did in conjunction with that, which was to bring a group of young people to the lake. So the race riots of 1919 started by a young person who was swimming in the lake, having fun, crossing an imaginary color line in the lake, and then being assaulted and ultimately murdered by a white person who threw rocks at him until he drowned. And so this was sort of our, like, reclaiming the space of the lakefront for joy and for young people. And so we had an event, and we were supported by some professional swimmers who taught people, if they were interested, some basic swimming skills. And it was just like, I mean, I hope the pictures can begin to capture the joyfulness of that day. So that was just one piece of our project there. And we do a bike ride every year where we tour the sites that are relevant to that event. And then also this year, local treasure and poet and academic Eve Ewing wrote a book of poetry called 1919 that was adapted into a play with Steppenwolf here in Chicago. And we were invited to come see that play with our staff and team and young people. And so this is us at Steppenwolf Theater, which is a major institution here in Chicago for theater, enjoying that play, and which was incredibly beautiful and thought-provoking. But this is sort of like the amazing tentacles that our work has in the city, and reaching back into history and making connections to what's happening today.
Gas conference. I have a lot of slides in here. I don't know how much. How are we doing on time, Demetra? Do you like, we could keep going, or, I mean, we want to open it up too for people to have like conversations if they've got questions about the work, and or to like show you through the space. But you tell us, you want us to keep going, or do you want to open it up?
How much more do you have? It would be, just because the project fire group is there today, it would be really great to be able to get a glimpse behind you and see them in person.
Yeah, and those are some things they should. Yeah, let's show you some stuff that's happening in the space right now.
Okay.
Yeah, if that's cool.
Yeah, that'd be great. And if anyone has questions, please go ahead and put them in the chat, and I will let Pearl or Karen know as we're going along.
The one thing that I will share in the chat before I forget is that we were recently featured on the Kelly Clarkson show. Some of you might have seen that. So I put the YouTube link there, which was quite an experience for us, but a great way to sort of platform what we do in a national way. And so now with that,
Blowing in there. Hi, Bethan. Here, we'll take you around. We'll show you space, and hopefully we won't make you too like car sick in the way. Here's Emily. Whoa, I won't do it that fast. There's Emily. It's our ceramic studio manager. This is Hannah, one of our teaching artists. This is our clay ceramic area. That's Grace working on a thing. I'm gonna try to go slow, but I want to get you through the whole space. This is our old break room. This is the room that you saw people building. And then, you know, this is where people will come and hang out. Deontay, there's
How y'all
LA.
doing? How y'all doing?
I think they're all muted, so they won't respond, but
I'm sorry. I thought y'all was gonna respond back to us. Right now, we in here getting some food, like right now.
so they've been doing Project Fire. And here, there's Kosi, which is like, some of you guys, I'm sure some of y'all have met him. He's our Project Fire manager. They're about to order their food for the day. Because that's part of what we do is like we do our glass blowing in the mornings and then we'll do our group sessions and feed everybody.
Here's our award.
Yay,
Thank
thank you. All right, so we're moving through the space. Got to stop and introduce you to a very important member of our 3-person women-led executive staff. This is Maureen Temples Black.
Hi, everyone. Nice to see you all.
Maureen helps fund everything. Very important person. There's some glass that's out on the table. There's glass everywhere. Is anybody getting car sick? No?
No, you're doing great.
All right, great. This is another very important person
How
on
you
our
doing?
team. This is Keontae.
It's on the dolphins.
Yes.
Those are so cool with the designs on them. I love them.
Keontae just got back. We just got back this past week from Philadelphia. We were there doing an artist cohort at the Tyler School of Glass.
Yeah.
And Keontae was there teaching some of their beginning and advanced students some of the things that she learned when she took a class out at Pilchuck on scholarship this past summer. She took a class with somebody who I think many of you will know, Raven Sky River. Thus, you can see the influence of the dolphins. I think, Bill, you've most likely shown Raven's work in your gallery at some point, but I don't know if you want to say anything about your experience.
My experience with every trip that I take is great. But my experience with Raven Sky River, I don't know, it was actually amazing because I like sea animals. So it was like right up my alley to take the class, and it was exciting. Like I learned everything. I learned more scope and skills than I had, and I got better with my dolphins. I got better with my glass blowing, period, with my bases and everything else. So it was great. It was a great experience.
Keontae's awesome. This is Danny Ellis. He's working right now. Won't bother you too much. He's one of our teaching artists as well. He's working on some of his own stuff. You're talking to the AACG. He's like, who am I talking to? So now we're going to come into the hot shop. This is our hot shop. And we've got several workstations, glory holes. This is Deshaun. You saw a picture of him with his baby Marie. That's my baby Petey, our emotional support dog. And see, we've got some glass blowing happening right now. It's Levante, Bree, one of our teaching artists. You guys are so good. You can engage while glass blowing. Deontay in the background.
It's a rainy day today.
Yeah, it's a beautiful rainy day in Chicago. It's a great day to be in the glass studio. Deontay's getting a gather. We built all of this equipment in here. We built our entire studio on really a shoestring budget. We had about like $40,000 to get this thing going initially. I mean, since we've done quite a lot of work and fundraising to like do the program that we do and to sustain the work that we do, but we really started it with very little, just because we needed a space to do this work. So hot. It's really coming down out there. So Levante's making his piece. Bree in the yellow shirt is one of our teaching artists, and they actually started
blowing glass in one of our after-school programs when they were like 14 years old, went to the University of Wisconsin-Madison to study glass with Helen Lee, and is now graduated back in Chicago teaching people. Yeah. Yay. So good. Let's see if Deontay's working on over here.
It's a very vibrant, active space. Like we always have folks in here doing stuff. People want to just like be here and like be a part of what's going on. Here's LA.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Do you want to tell them anything about you, your experience?
All right, where I started. I had started back, let's see, Project Fire started in what, 2015?
2015.
I came a year later.
I think you're a year later, 2016.
I had started in 2016. I had started off like as just a student, you know, like just learning. Like that guy right there. I started out just learning, you know. And I had started, at first, I really didn't like it because it was too hot, and then you would mess up a lot of your clothes, but I got to getting real good at it. So Pearl was like, yeah, you just gotta keep coming. You just gotta keep coming, because a lot of people who will come, like, this not for everybody, you know? It's one of my
I
pieces
just wanted
right
to show
there.
you how good he's gotten at it. Very beautiful.
Because yeah, like, this job not for everybody. Like, everybody can't work in the summer, and it'll be like, we work with 2,000 degree glass, like, then our glory hole super hot, and then summertime it'll be like 90, 80 degrees outside. So some people will quit, like, but I just been one of the ones that has just kept coming, kept trying to make it through, even though like we'll be going through stuff at home or just in life, you know, that it just make some stuff that just make you want to give up. But out of all the time, I just kept trying to push through, and I got to get recognized for the stuff I was doing, like coming on more trips, getting to see the world, you know, because at first I wasn't going out of Chicago. Now we just came back from Philadelphia. That was a good experience that I had.
Nice egg-shaped paperweight for y'all.
The paperweight that he just made. But yeah, I just kept coming because there's somewhere that, you know, you can feel safe at. Because in Chicago, it ain't that many opportunities like this, or no, not that many rec centers, or just places you can get away to, you know, and just come be yourself, not get judged for something. And you can realize, talk to somebody like about things that you're going through, you know? And I just kept coming. Now I'm teaching.
Woo. Very proud of this guy. I think we've got, thanks LA, the best. Woo. We'll take you guys back to the other. Oh, Deontay's wants you to see him putting away his egg-shaped paperweight. Load into 3, really? Okay. Good job, son. Well done, Santa. All right, we'll take you back over, and thanks for coming on our tour, Firebird Community Arts. Hopefully, whenever you're in Chicago, you can come and take an opportunity to come and visit us, although you got a real sneak peek there.
Thank you. That was really amazing to see. You guys provide such an amazing sanctuary for youth, and it really is life-changing. And I think one of the things that really stuck out to me during the program is not just what you are offering there in the moment to the kids, but the continuity that you are providing for them. You know, you mentioned, I think it was Danny that had started as an intern, a social work intern, and now she's on your staff. Other people that we saw in the program that just came there, you know, starting out as a youth looking for somewhere to go where they can feel safe, and now are teachers working there. the production line that you guys are doing to help them find ways to continue producing glass. Of course, working with corporations, doing awards. I mean, it's that continuity after the youth portion ends that I think is just what really makes your program so amazing. Is that you aren't just there for a part of their lives. You're there to continue providing that support and showing them other ways and paths that might not be traditional, but can be just as successful and fulfilling. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. And one thing I also wanted to mention is that as we know, it's the UN designated International Year of Glass, and you guys received a grant for your work from the IYOG steering committee, I believe. So I wanted to also mention that because it just shows what an amazing program you have there. I know we had some questions, of course, a lot of wonderful comments in the chat that I'll share with you later, but there are people wondering about how they can help with funding and whether you can provide maybe a link in the chat for them to go to so that they can understand better how they can help or contribute. Post a link for donors that are interested would be helpful. A lot of people saying thank you and what a wonderful program. Thanks, I see that link there now. So Anthony, I think you were asking for that. You should see the link in the chat.
Yeah, I put the link there. It's our website. It's very prominent on our website also, but we are, you can see that our facility is lively and full in every square inch and corner. So we are really actively working towards finding a larger forever home that we can own and grow into and improve in ways that we can't when we are renters. So stay tuned about that. Like, sign up for our newsletter on our website, and there'll be more information coming about that and other programs and ways to support, get involved, lend your talents. If you guys know things about real estate or architecture or know good people like that, you can send them our way as well as donating money. So there's lots of ways to support and be involved even from afar. But I hope
Great.
people who are nearby will come in. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Really was a joy to present the awards today to both William Traver for his exceptional and extensive work over the years supporting the glass art community, and with Pearl and Dr. Karen Rays and all of the work that they're doing for youth and the community on a different side of things. So it really shows how we all need to come together to create a community that is robust and supporting people from every angle. So thank you everyone for being here today. Linda, if you want to stop the recording, we can just open it up if people would like to chat or say hello or offer their congratulations.